A lot of people want to know if Google suspensions are permanent. And the short answer is sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Just because Google says they are does not necessarily mean they are. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean by that. And if you don't know who I am, my name is John from StubGroup. We are a digital marketing agency, a premier Google partner, and we're the #1 resource in the world for fixing Google suspensions and policy issues. So sometimes you will see this language from Google. It might be in a policy, it might be in an email where they will say this is a permanent suspension. And we have seen situations where Google has done permanent suspensions, where advertisers have never been able to get an ad account back online with Google. So that is a possibility. However, we've also seen many situations where we have helped advertisers where Google has said it was a permanent suspension, and we have still been successful in fixing the problems, proving to Google that the problems had been fixed, and getting those advertisers back online with Google. So you can't just take Google's word when they say that it's a permanent suspension. There are a couple of, I would say, kind of varying levels of taking Google's word. So one place where you might hear it's permanent is if you have a rep at Google that you're working with and they're telling you their perspective on the situation. I will put, frankly, the least amount of credit or reliability in a Google rep telling you that a suspension is permanent, simply because they have limited access to know what the issues are. They don't have access to really do much about those issues. And there's a lot of lack of education among Google reps about how Google's policy system works. And they may say something and they may mean it. I'm not saying that they're being malicious or lying or anything like that, but there are many situations where they just don't have full information about how Google's own processes work. And so if they tell you it's permanent, maybe it is, but I wouldn't just take their word for it. And then again, sometimes you'll get emails from Google mentioning this is a permanent suspension or you can't appeal again or things like that. Those are scary to get for obvious reasons, but we have had some success with still getting people unsuspended even after having received those types of emails. It takes a lot of work, a lot of elbow grease, a lot of creativity, but we've been able to make it happen. So if you're in a situation where you've been told in some way or other that your suspension is permanent, I would say have some hope, because you're not necessarily don't just take Google's word for it. There may still be a path forward, but you are in a serious, concerning situation where it's probably going to be very hard to overturn that. And so definitely learn as much as you can about what's going on, or work with someone like StubGroup who knows how to deal with things and how to increase the chances, the likelihood of getting a suspension overturned, and get to work. And also, don't just throw appeal after appeal at Google. You will have to send appeals, but you want to be very strategic in what changes you're making and how you craft those appeals when you go back to Google with those appeals. So just be careful about throwing tons of stuff at the wall to see what sticks. That's usually not the approach with Google suspensions. So if you want help or more information, please reach out through stubgroup.com, and we'd love to help.